Hello and welcome to Sip Sip Hooray, where we are definitely for wine with lunch on Mondays. I mean, who isn't? It just makes life more fun, right? In fact, our guests today believe in that ethos so much, they put it in their winery manifesto, which says, among other gems, we are for wine with lunch on Mondays. To open good stuff for no reason is the reason. They are full of wit and wisdom and inspiration, and we'll ask them to share their manifesto and their story with us today in a conversation that's sure to be full of good stuff. They are Joey Wolosz and Jeff Durham, owners of Gentleman Farmer Wines. We, of course, are the two Marys who like to eat, drink, and be merry. I'm Mary Babbitt.
I'm Mary Orlin. Joey and Jeff are a dynamo couple. You might say they're Renaissance men. Their talents go way beyond being vintners. Joey makes wine with somebody I really love, Jerome Cherry. We'll get into that later. But he's also a very accomplished chef, musician, magician. The list goes on, as well as a terrific writer. He's the one who wrote the words to that manifesto that we'll hear a little bit more about in just a sec. Now, Jeff, on the other hand, is equally talented. He's playing the clarinet. He's just there. They do everything together. He's a gardener. It's just amazing. So I was lucky enough to meet Jeff and Joey a couple weeks ago when they came to Palm Springs for the first ever Equality Wine Fest that was in early July 2023. We had such a good time and so much fun that I called Mary B and I said, we've got to get them on the pod. So here they are today on the pod. Welcome, Joey and Jeff, to Sip Sip Hooray.
Thank you for having us. Happy to be on the pod.
And this
Yay.
is Jeff. Thank you very much for having us. We had such a great time having dinner with you and your husband, John, and look forward to continuing our conversation.
Yes.
Yay. Well, we're happy that you're here today. You guys are in the kitchen getting ready for a big lunch, so we don't want to keep you, but we would love to maybe start our chat today with you reading the Gentleman Farmer Manifesto, which I love the idea that your winery has on its webpage, a manifesto. It's like a code that these are the things we believe in. So if you wouldn't mind reading it to us, Joey, you said you wrote it. Could you read it?
I'm going to read it, but Jeff has something to say.
No.
No. Okay.
Joey writes all his own content. He rages against the machine of AI.
No AI.
I will admit I use AI in my emails, but all of Joey's content is 100% his own.
So this is my manifesto, our manifesto. We believe that a life well led is a life well fed. Fed by thoughtful food, good wine, and engaged conversation. Fed by what gratifies us to garden, cook, or tinker. Above all, to create. Fed by the work of our hands, the tactile, the analog, and the acoustic. We are for mise en place and a well-stocked pantry, sharp knives, copper bowls, and a butcher block. We are for salting early and setting the table. We are for wine with lunch on Mondays. To open the good stuff for no reason is the reason. Take up the wire whisk. Choose a stone mortar and pestle. Use a seasoned cast iron skillet. Feel the grace of farm dirt under your nails. Sense the mystery in grapes grown from nothing more than sunlight, atmosphere, and water. Taste time held in a bottle. We have a need to be human, to connect with what is real, to hear a story told in authentic voice. We err on the human side of winemaking. We nourish the life well fed.
I just love that. Oh, it's just so inspiring.
I
It's
want to be
amazing.
clear, though, Joey plays the accordion and he's been trying to go electric. And I want to be sure everybody heard that we need to lead the life acoustic so that fucking accordion will never be plugged to an amp.
Yeah, I have an electric accordion in
That's
addition
not
to my
happening.
so it goes in the amp.
That's so
I can do
funny.
recording.
I didn't even realize that there were electric accordions. That sounds so
it's like an electric guitar, but super cool.
Yeah.
So fun.
Well, because
So-
everything about the accordion is cool.
Yeah. So we should set the scene right now. We are talking to you guys in your home. Tell us where you are and what you're doing right now.
So we live in Yountville. We've lived here for 21 years. I was born and raised in Napa, left when I was 18 and lucky enough to come back with Joey 21 years ago. Joey purchased a house, a brand new build at that time, which we were fortunate enough to make our own in 2017. So Joey got his expansive kitchen. He gave me the washer and dryer upstairs in our bedroom closet. So we're both very happy.
How nice of him.
Always thinking of others.
I also put the window over the sink.
Yes, finally, I'm not staring at a wall like I was the first 7 years. Yeah, what we do is we have a lovely outdoor garden that we repurposed and played up during COVID. And as a result, we have some wine club members coming over and we're serving a little lunch and wine today to them in our back garden. And so we're just prepping a little paella, some pan con tomate, and some other pinchos along the way.
How nice. Now, one thing that for me makes what you do with Gentleman Farmer different from any other Napa Valley winery is that, as Mary said in her opening, that, you have lunch, that your tasting is a lunch, and it's not just a bite here, a bite there. It's a full-blown multi-course lunch that Joey has made everything. The condiments, the mustard, he's cured the sausage, he's made the sausage. Everything is from scratch. What motivated you all to present wines in this way and not just have people come up to the bar and have, a little bite here, a little bite there?
So first of all, this is Joey. I'm working on my cookbook of sorts. We'll see where that goes. So this is my practice runs for testing recipes. But secondly, in 2017, for my 50th, we went to Europe. We were in France, and it was Vin Expo. And a friend in Calistoga set us up with a chateau in Margaux to have a tasting. And so when I was renting the car in Bordeaux, I called the owner and I said, "Hey, we're on our way." And she said, "Will you have had lunch?" And I don't have lunch plans. So she said, "You must come for lunch." So we went to her chateau, but went around back to where their private residence was. And we had lunch. And it was just a beautiful way to experience the wines.
It was with the family, with her kids as well. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
Cool.
And so we once we experienced that, I just want to have people over for lunch, especially since we did the renovation here and we have the new kitchen.
So we like to have the wine like you would at home, with friends, with family, with food. It's not a precious bite. It's not a perfect pairing. It's not something that's not doable. The majority of food that we serve to our guests is on the website on a recipe page because we want it accessible to you. It's got family history with Joey's Polish side, with my Italian side. So we want you to remember that when you open the bottle and you share it with your friends and you have it with food. It doesn't have to be the perfect pairing. It just is about the environment and where you are at that moment.
Yeah. And the generosity of spirit, the welcoming of people into your home. It's just so cool. It says, "We're glad you're here and we want to know you as you get to know us and our wine." I love it.
We both have a hospitality background, and that's what everything's based on, is our hospitality.
But how do you sustain it with obviously you have to limit how many people you can have. The bachelorette party's not going to roll in and
we
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not at all.
It's mostly wine club members that come through here and visit us, and we enjoy hosting. My friend so I do a monthly newsletter-ish. It's called Field Notes, and I interview in each one a tastemaker you should know. So I've interviewed drag queens and burlesque performers and comedians and actors. And the most recent one was a chef instructor. And he asked me, "Why do you do this? It seems like so much work." And I realized I'm not working that day. I'm piddling around in the kitchen. I get to cook, but also I'm not answering emails. I'm not invoicing anybody. I am on somebody else's vacation. So Jeff and I are on our wine club members' vacation at that point. And so our life is a vacation.
And we've seen it work so well, and we've gotten such good feedback that we have a property downtown Napa now called The Bungalow. It's the Studio for Gustatory Wellbeing. And we will be able to do what we're doing.
Gustatory?
Of course.
Sorry.
Exactly. Because it's not a tasting room. It's well above that.
It's a studio.
You're not going to step up to a bar and hand a glass over a bar and have a 22-year-old kid, once again, not that there's anything wrong with that, pour you a glass of wine. It's going to be us telling the story and sharing it with you. So we're going to be able to hopefully open that in about 5 months downtown Napa, and be able to build on what we've done here and continue to share our story and share our food.
And the reason we call it a studio for gustatory well-being is because it's more than a tasting room. It's more than a lunch space. There will be a piano, some accordions, some bongos, some puppets, some magic, and wine.
We'll fucking sell wine, Joey.
There will be. It's just going to be a space where we can do. So what I reference this as is the wine is central, right? We make wine because we love wine. But there's an orbit of all these other things happening around wine, which involves, first of all, food, which is a natural companion, but also these other interests that we can all just kind of have fun doing down there.
We want to share with you. Joey has interviewed some amazing people, and we want to share those people with you. And we want to share our experiences with you because we love them so much. We think it's so much fun that we know it's going to be fun for you. A quick example. We have gone to Dave Kaw's concerts in the past. Actually, a very good friend of ours is almost a groupie of his. So we've seen him with her, and he was coming to Napa. So we all bought tickets. And then Joey realized, well, I interview a tastemaker every month. Let's interview Dave Kaw's. He plays, saxophone. Jeff just got a clarinet last year, and Joey's big into music. Let's interview him. So he responded yes to the interview. And then we took it to the next level and said, why don't we have lunch in our patio after your concert? And then, so he brought himself plus his bandmates with him. And then we had a couple of wine club members over, and it was an amazing Sunday afternoon in Yountville to be able to share our wine, to be able to share our food, and to watch the people interact. It really, really came together. And I realized this bungalow is going to be amazing because this is exactly what's going to happen there.
It sounds so magical. And, you know,
sure
Joey,
does.
you've got your magician hat on sometimes. And so, how did you get into magic?
So, I don't know, I think it was a pandemic thing, but Jeff took me to Vegas. And who spends a week in Vegas? Nobody. We did. We spent a week in Vegas.
And we don't gamble.
So we went to magic shows. We went to, we saw Matt Franco cards, Shin Lim cards, Penn and Teller, and Copperfield. But we also had, we saw the Burlesque Hall of Fame Museum, which my interview a year and a half ago was with Corvette Luface. She's a burlesque performer in Manhattan. She recommended going there. So we just had like a fun week of magical things. And then in May last year, Jeff took me to the Magic Castle in Los Angeles, and 7, I think, theaters in there, 2 restaurants, 5 bars. I don't know.
It's a private club.
Private club.
We had to go with someone who was a member.
But the member that we went in with, he is now my magician instructor. So I am the sorcerer's apprentice. I've been taking magic lessons for a year and a month now. So yeah, it's all coming together.
So he's got 2 effects.
I have 4 effects.
He has 4 effects. But what we've learned, the beauty of it is that I get to see a lot of it. I'm not here when he learns his effects, nor do I want him to tell me, because I want to be surprised every time. But what we have learned is that we need to do the effects before he starts tasting wine, not after. At the beginning of the
That's great.
I think that's great. And as Mary said, it is it's symbiotic, because what you guys are doing, what you're creating, is really magical. And like listening to you in the world that you are making, it didn't just happen. You guys are making this happen, but you're really living the dream. And you make it all sound so much fun, but I know you work really hard and you have a lot of balls in the air at all times.
You had to say that. Did you really say that? You know, he's juggling lessons.
I'm taking juggling lessons.
Are you? I didn't know.
Set him
Of
up.
course he is. Of course he is.
If you speak Polish, it's going to be all over because, of course, it's Polish.
Oh my goodness.
It is hard work. It's what we do. But it's hospitality. It's what we know. It's what we enjoy. And like Joey said, we get to be on other people's vacation. We get to share the things that we enjoy. I love being in the yard. I love being in the garden. So when people come over, that's where we have lunch, around our garden next to our chicken.
Also,
it's fun.
There's a lot of people that made money in maybe high tech or other devices and come to the valley, and they can hire the best winemaker and get the best vineyard manager, etc. There's a lot of those stories. That is not our story. We bootstrap this. We have done this out of pocket. We've grown very slowly, gradually. It's really a labor of love. There's a story during the recession in 2010, I think was the year, maybe 2009 vintage, and I had to pay for grapes in 2010, where I just, I had to run to San Francisco and sell my watch to pay for the grapes. And then
wow,
called Jeff.
It's better. Oh, it gets better.
I called Jeff and I said, I don't have enough money for my watch. I need your watch. And so I ran back and got Jeff's watch and ran back to San Francisco to sell it. So
we learned several lessons there. One is
we don't need fancy watches.
Well, and I had better taste because mine went up in value. But that's exactly right. We don't need fancy watches, and this is what we want to focus on. So
that's so great. Well, let's talk about wine, because I think you guys do make a little wine, right?
And you want to sell it too, I'm sure.
Yeah,
so
the wine is for sale.
The wine is for sale.
Yeah. We are lucky enough to you shared 3 wines with us. Which one do you want to start with? We've got a rosé, a Chardonnay, and the red blend.
So I kind of flip on the decision between rosé and Chardonnay first. It's always fun to have just a glass of rosé when people come to the house to start. But we can also start with Chardonnay. Let's start with rosé. It's fun.
Sure.
All right. So the first thing I noticed about your rosé is that it's a deeper red than some I've seen before, and the flavor is it's a lovely flavor. But it's got more. It's kind of a deeper red flavoring than that lighter rosés. Can you describe it for me?
Yeah. So this is so there's a big splash of color on this rosé, and I was kind of in the direction of maybe rosato, depending if you're Italian or Spanish. That dark color. So it's about 95% Pinot Noir, 2% Pinot Meunier, and that splash of color is a Merlot bleed. It is super flavorful, which means it pairs well with food. I'm always thinking in the context of food. I tell people I got into the cellar through the back door of the kitchen. I was in a cooking program I'm telling you my age now, late 80s. And my first winery job was with Cali Vineyards in Arroyo Grande, California. But yeah, it's always like, how is this going to pair at the table? And
also it's our first dedicated and will be a dedicated rosé project moving forward with Pinot Noir from
Sonoma.
Yes, which means that the grapes are grown specifically and harvested early specifically to make a rosé.
Yeah, so we're picking at a different Brix level because we want to retain acidity for rosé.
And what's nice is that we have gotten positive feedback on it through the press as well. And actually, rosé never scores, and we got to 91 points on this from Wine and Beer.
That's incredible.
I really love this rosé. I have to say, it's delicious. It hits all the right notes. It's vibrant and it's got a lot of fruit, but it's so delicately balanced. It's just lovely.
So you said Pinot Noir rosé and Jerome Cherry, who is your consulting winemaker. I first met Jerome when he was at Sainsbury crafting gorgeous Pinot Noirs and have been following him ever since. And I'm so thrilled that he's with you. So tell us how that happened.
Yeah. So Jérôme Cherry, he's French. He went to the University of Burgundy in Dijon. And so it's fun to see him work with our Chardonnay, which we'll taste next, and Pinot Noir projects, because that's the motherland, the homeland, the mothership of Pinot and Chardonnay. Actually, we were together this morning because we were bottling a Chardonnay. So I was talking to him, and he's all, "Oh yeah, Mary Olin." I was there at Sainsbury when she came to Sainsbury. When she came to do, I think, a video.
It was a video for Premier Napa Valley. We were doing video stories about the wines that were being auctioned off, and so Sainsbury was one of the wineries that year that they were highlighting, and that's how I got to know Jerome, and he's great. So hi, Jerome.
So Jerome came on with us what year, Joe?
2020.
And it was
December 2020.
And it was interesting as we were having the discussion about bringing Jerome on. Cab is king in Napa, and we all know that. So we were discussing it with a couple of respected wine people of having someone whose history and experience is with Pinot and Chardonnay. And their answer was, that's exactly who you want. Anyone can make Cab. So I thought it was really interesting moving forward. We had our first vintage Pinot Noir release this year, and our Chardonnay is a huge hit with everyone. And the proof is in what's gone on in the last 2 years.
I will caveat that and say not everyone can make Cabernet.
Well, you know what I like.
True.
I like the envelope of inviting everyone in positively. Really.
I think his point was that Pinot is the more fussy of the two reds.
Mm-hmm.
Because Chardonnay was the girl that got along with everyone, Joey.
Yep, Chardonnay is the girl that got along with everyone in high school, is what I'd say, and not from that perspective, more the popular. Like she was cool. But she grows in any soil, she grows in any climate, basically. But it's really about winemaker intervention and what the winemaker does for Chardonnay. And that's why I think it's exciting to have Jerome. And in fact, can I just jump into Chardonnay really quick?
Sure.
No, so I was just going to say about Chardonnay, I've been getting fruit from Michael Hanna about 3 miles south of Beyontville in the Oak Knoll district for Chardonnay. For a number of years now. We start off with 3 little rows, and we're up to our 18 rows, or dedicated rows. We get the same rows year after year. Michael Hanna is the great-great-grandson of John Muir, the father of our national parks. And so
very cool.
Yeah, he's an environmentalist, a conservationist, sustainable practices, organic practices. And I tell people, you can be sure there are birds and butterflies and flowers in that vineyard. But it's exciting now that I have Jerome on the other side, is to have these two heavyweights working together to make some terrific Chardonnay.
Real quick, I don't want to discount Joey either. During COVID, he got his winemaker certificate from Davis as well. So what's nice is that we have Jerome with us, and then it's fun to watch Joey and he do the wine blending trials here on our kitchen counter. So Joey is very hands-on as well.
That's great.
Nice.
Started in a friend's garage in 1999, but during COVID, I thought I'd make it legit and actually get a certificate from Davis. So someone thinks I'm a winemaker. UC Davis does, but
hey, that matters.
Congratulations. Yeah. Jeff, do you participate in the winemaking at all? Do you get to add an opinion here or there in blending or anything like that?
Real quick backstory. We owned a hotel in Humboldt County for 15 years. We just sold it April 7th. So I ran the hotel, Joey ran the winery, and we both focused on what we really enjoyed. I enjoy wine. He enjoyed the hospitality side, but we both were very much where we were, our hearts are at. Now that we've sold the hotel, I'm all in on Gentleman Farmer wines as well. So at the end of the day, I'm enjoying what I'm learning, but the winemaking definitely stays with Jerome with Joey's input.
Well, I love this Chardonnay, and it's got a kiss of oak because from the barrel fermentation. But what I love is that you don't put it through what's called malolactic fermentation, and basically that's a secondary fermentation that can turn the malic acid that is inherent in wine, which is, think of biting into a green apple, into lactic acid, which is more milk and butter. And so you guys don't put it through ML, which is not that common in Chardonnay, but I love that. But you still get a creaminess from stirring it on the dead yeast cells in the barrel. But it's not the typical Napa Valley Chardonnay that hits you over the head with oak.
Exactly. It's what we would like to drink. Everything that we make is what we like to drink.
So I tell people there's still purity of fruit on this wine, but we have a little bit of spice. We have a little bit of cinnamon, maybe vanilla from the caramelized wood sugars of the barrel. But so we bring in the chef, the cook, with his spice rack, but we don't bring in the pastry chef with butterscotch and caramel with a 100% new French oak. So it's about 50% new French oak. The other 50% is neutral. We go at this with a French approach. I say approach rather than style, because in Burgundy, homeland of Chardonnay, it's a cool continental climate. They may have issues ripening some years, I don't know, but here in Napa, it's Mediterranean climate. So we're going to have ripe fruit every year, but the approach is the same. We're going to do barrel fermentation, and we do something like you mentioned, batonnage, where we stir the wine on the lees, the dead yeast, for a few months to give the creaminess of texture, but not so much that dairy note that you would get from ML.
Well, it's spectacular, beautifully done,
And
really nice Chardonnay.
It's Polish, so on visit to our home, you'll probably at one point or another get homemade potato and cheese and homemade mushroom and sauerkraut pierogi, and it goes perfectly with his homemade creme fraiche with this Chardonnay.
Ooh, I am all into that. Nice.
Yeah.
And I think well with an accordion and
well, there you go. You have to have
a magic trick.
have the whole experience. That's great.
Accordion. Unfortunately, the accordion in our house only plays sad Polish songs.
Oh.
And one Britney Spears song, but most of it is.
Well, there you go. You have to have that.
I play Talking by Britney Spears.
You play which one?
If you think about it really quick. Da, 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 da. It's perfect for
So guys, how did you get the name Gentleman Farmer?
So a gentleman's farm is for his satisfaction and his pleasure. And this is kind of what satisfies me. I dabbled in so many different things during my first 50 years around the sun. But now I kind of landed on this and said, this is what I want to focus on. And we've been making wine as Gentleman Farmer since the 2005 vintage. But like I mentioned, we were making in a friend's garage in 1999.
And that wine is still in the garage of my rental at San Francisco. It was a step fermentation for Zinfandel. So I called the day I moved out, I called the landlord, said, keep the deposit. There's a barrel of wine in the garage for you.
And it's still full. And
I'm sure. Well, that was a few years ago.
That's funny. I hope you tapped that barrel and
no.
We were moving it around.
Did I read that you guys are, correct me if I'm wrong, but Napa Valley's only LGBTQ certified winery? Is that a thing?
Well, first of all, wait. There are so many things in that one sentence. It is going to take an hour to explain all of it.
Go for it.
You got 5 minutes.
So yeah. I think we are, now they're saying, because there's others, but now they're saying that we are the Napa Valley's first openly gay owned winery. And also I got certified as gay. That's crazy. So the National Gay and Lesbian
What's
Chamber
involved in that?
DC, you have to
K1s, believe it or not.
Yeah, I have to submit K1
and wedding. We submitted our marriage certificate.
So there's a
lot
of companies like Hyatt and Marriott and American Airlines, whatever, that have to they have their diversity programs. So like let's say 10% of their budget goes to purchasing from diverse vendors. And so they would contact something like the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce and say, hey, we need some gay wine. Who's making wine? And so we're on that list.
We're on that.
That's genius. Okay, that is just smart marketing. That is
Well,
really a good business, idea.
And it is interesting you say that. And just to finish the one thought, though, is we are having wine with some other gentlemen this weekend that we've come into contact with, two other gentlemen in the valley who are making wine as well and have a small winery. So what's nice is it's expanded our reach with other people in this valley, because this valley's agriculture. It's got a deep, rich white history to it.
It does.
Interesting when we get to meet people who come from different backgrounds to do these things.
Yeah, it's agriculture. I mean, wine is agriculture, and agriculture is still very conservative, straight white male.
In
Right.
Northern
Right. So
California.
how are you guys received then? How do you feel?
It's
you know?
interesting you asked that, because when we started this, we did not want to be the gay winery. We did not want to be rainbow wine. But what we have come to realize is that if that certification gets me in the door, I'll take it, because what Jerome is doing, what Joey is doing, more than backs up the fact that they will call us a second time and follow up.
Heck
Absolutely.
yeah, love that.
So
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. And we're having a good time with it. We've we've donated in June, we donate proceeds to we've formed a relationship with Juanita Moore in San Francisco. And we were able to, in our June proceeds, donate some money to a nonprofit that's very near and dear to her.
Queer life space.
Thank you.
San Francisco.
And so, you know what? We can do some good with it as well. And that's always a good thing.
So Juanita Moore is a drag icon in San Francisco. She's been around for 30 years. We donated wine to her exhibit at the War Memorial Art Theater or whatever museum for her retrospective of all her gowns, and she donates all of her work. And she is big into fundraising for nonprofits in San Francisco.
So that's a connect. We're not the gay winery, but now as a result, we have amazing relationships in the community to be able to build on that and meet new people and share those people with other people as well.
Well, that's great. And speaking of community, you guys are really involved in the community there, especially in Yountville. Jeff, you were on the city council for many years. So,
good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have a newspaper project now. So tell us about this.
So I was on the council for 6 years. Amazing opportunity. I was also on the Parks Commission and what our version of the Planning Commission is here. I've always been interested in news, politics, day-to-day happenings. And I'm a firm believer that we can make a difference on a local level and a state level. I don't know beyond that as an individual for most of us. So I'm involved in Yountville. I'm involved in Napa County. So I was on the council for 6 years, ran for re-election in 2020, Joe?
Yeah.
Lost. Now let's take a step back. There are probably 1,900 people in Yountville, and probably we have a veterans home here with about 800 people living there, veterans. So you can be guaranteed there's a high turnout up there, which is respectable. And then throughout the rest of the community, we probably have about 1,100 people voting. So to lose an election in a small town like this, I told my friends I felt like I lost for ASB vice president when I was a junior in high school. Kind of hurt.
Oh,
And which is fine.
It's so personal, right?
It is. It's partially a popularity contest.
Oh, Lord.
So I was bummed, and it's like, well, what the hell am I going to do? And, it was a difficult time. It was during COVID. There was a lot going on. Also, I supported a cannabis ordinance in our community. We had, and still do, have about 13 vacant businesses. And I thought, if we have a cannabis ordinance, we can at least open up that opportunity if someone wants to come here. And mind you, the ordinance was like 10 pages long. No,
Okay.
no other business would be as controlled. And so a lot of people, instead of looking at my work for the last 6 years, made that election a referendum on my support of cannabis. So
my
as
God.
a result, I lost. And so, I thought, well, that sucks. They couldn't see the work I put in. They couldn't see the time that I put in for this community. So what am I going to do? So I did two things. One is we have a Yountville community Thanksgiving, and the wonderful couple who was doing it finally decided after 20 plus years they were going to step down. So I took over that. So every year I help to put on the Yountville community Thanksgiving. The upside to that during COVID was we started deliveries. So we really could make a difference to those people who really needed it. And then on Thanksgiving, we would get together. And last year was 112 people in our community just come together for Thanksgiving. And it was amazing. So
nice.
I've got time to do that now. But also, which I need to get back into, please do not go to the Yountvillean right now because I've not blogged in a while. But I started the Yountvillean, and the tagline is, I go to the meetings so you don't have to.
Nice.
And when I'm writing, I give you updates on what is going on in our small little community.
That's awesome.
It's so great. I think I totally believe in participating in and giving back to your local community. And if you're not an active member in your community, you can't expect anything from your community.
This is what we do. This is what we really enjoy. It's great.
Yes. Well, we have one more wine to talk about, your red blend.
Oh, yes.
And while we talk about that, I also understand there's a very interesting story about your logo. So please tell us about that.
So my grandmother came from Poland through Ellis Island in 1913. And I have a great photograph of her. She's a girl. She's probably 13, 14, 15 years old. And she's sitting with about 30, 40 other girls, all in shop uniforms. And she went straight to work at a cigar factory in Manhattan. And all the girls are seated like on the floor. And the two shopmen have their arms crossed on either side of them. And so this is a cigar band. The label is reminiscent of a cigar band.
Oh, so cool. I love it.
It's a nice tribute. And so the red wine blend inside, tell us about this, because it's, again, something you don't always see in Napa.
So we started in 2005 vintage with the intent to make Napa Valley Cabernet, as one does in Napa Valley. But coming from a cooking background, a dish with one ingredient is kind of boring. A dish with a few ingredients becomes interesting. And so we're permitted to have a bit of other varietals blended in up to a certain percentage, maybe 15 to 25%, depending on what's on the label, and still call it Cabernet. And so sticking with tradition, we're going to look to Bordeaux and stick with Bordeaux varietals. And so we were harvesting Merlot and Petit Verdot and Cabernet Franc and Malbec. And so with all these other varietals at our disposal in barrel, we made another wine. It's called red wine. We could not come up with a fanciful name, so it's just red wine. It's usually Merlot dominant. This one that you're tasting is a 2019 red wine. It is Merlot dominant with a little bit of Cabernet Sauvignon blended in. Some years it was Cabernet Franc, some years it was Malbec, and some years it was Cabernet Sauvignon. So.
Well, what I love about it is, it's soft, it's full of red fruit, but the Merlot source has a family connection for Jeff.
But I'm going to defer to Joey because he tells this story better.
So in the 80s, Jeff grew up in Napa. In the 80s, when he was in high school, his father purchased 20 plus acres of cow pasture on Big Ranch Road in the Oak Knoll district of Napa Valley and planted it to vineyards. And they have since sold those vineyards, but we were getting fruit off the first 3 rows off the driveway where the house was that Jeff lived in and had to work in those vineyards during high school weekends and summers and vacation.
Mm-hmm. It's a very small valley at the end of the day.
I love that.
His father planted what? Riesling, Gewürztraminer, or something.
Just to give you an idea how old I am, my dad buys 22 acres of land to plant vineyards in Napa, and he plants Gewürztraminer and Sauvignon Blanc. So
Wow.
obviously that is
Well, that driveway dust just adds to the beauty of this red wine, and I love it. You guys, this is a real winner. It's so good. The cherry and, like Mary said, the tannins are there, but they're soft, and it's got a nice lingering, I guess, layered finish. I love it. So nice.
Thank you. It's definitely one of the crowd favorites. When before COVID, we had a lot of retail restaurant placement. During COVID, 100% direct to consumer, and now we're getting back out with increased production to distribution. But what's interesting is, once again, we're drinking wine and making wine what we want to enjoy to drink, what we want to enjoy as at the table with food. We don't want it to be overpowering. We don't want it to be overblown as well. And what was fun was this red wine, when we were in these restaurants, was definitely the sommelier's favorite. They definitely saw that this was the right choice to have on their list when you had a party of 6 going all over the board on what they wanted to eat. And also, Joey has a great story of one of the sommeliers that gave us the best compliment that we thought you could about a bottle of wine.
So I tasted a sommelier at a Michelin-starred restaurant, and he said this is a wine he would have a second glass of.
So that's our idea.
Hello.
With the red wine, always with that thought in mind.
That's always a good sign. It is. Well, guys, we know you are super busy. You've got to get back to finishing your lunch preps for your guests who are coming in like about an hour. So
I got to finish marshmallows.
Oh, there you go.
Fun.
We just made some marshmallows. We served that at the end, and Jeff just circles back to Chardonnay with that course. What's my website for
all this?
All of this.
Farmerwines.com.
Yay. Any other little parting notes you want to leave us with?
If you ever find yourself in the Napa Valley, we'd be happy to host. Also, I write a monthly newsletter. I call it Field Notes, and it's always what's going on with us, what's going on with the winery. I interview a tastemaker you should know. I've had baseball managers and NFL players and all sorts of interesting creative people and how they relate to wine and food. So it's always that the interview always shifts towards like their relationship with wine and food. You can do that on the website, gentlemanfarmerwines.com. And it's a fun little community. I get to meet some super interesting people.
Awesome. Well, Joey and Jeff, we would like to thank you for nourishing the life well fed. And I love that you guys are living the dream. Just keep it up. Your spirit, your ethos, your work ethic, your just who you are as humans. Hooray for you guys. Thank you for showing us a better and more fun way to do it.
Yes. A big sip, hooray. Cheers to both of you for everything you do, for how you really contribute to the community, to the wine world. You have unique voices, diverse voices, and we do need more of that in wine. So thank you.
We sure do.
Yep.
Yay. Cheers
Hooray.
to you guys. Sip, sip, hooray.
Thank you.
Sip, sip, hooray.
Well, we hope you had as much fun with Joey and Jeff as we did today. They are just incredible people, and we are excited when we get to share friends like that with you. That is what the Sip Sip Hooray podcast is all about, introducing you to fun people, interesting people in the wine world, and sharing their stories with you.
So we hope that you will share this episode with your friends, with your family. We'd love for you to go to wherever you listen to our podcast and give us a rating, leave us a review. Let us know what you thought about Joey and Jeff. And, if you get to try their wines or go to visit them and have lunch with them, we'd love to hear about that. So we will put all the information you need to know in our show notes, and that's at our website, sipsiphooraypodcast.com.
You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook. We are Sip Sip Hooray Podcast. And we are also on Substack these days.
Yes, we have a Substack page where you can see all of our episodes. But the really cool thing about Substack is you can subscribe and you will get notified the instant we post a new episode, so you won't miss anything. So we encourage you to subscribe. It's a free subscription, and we're also going to put in little tidbits along the way too, some extras. You may have heard us say when Joey and Jeff open the bungalow, we are going to let you all know that via Substack. So join us there.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. We hope that you lead a life well led, and remember that it's also a life well fed.
Absolutely.
and have more wine with lunch on Mondays. Cheers to you, Mary Orland.
Cheers to you, Mary Babbitt. Sip, sip, hooray.
Sip, sip, hooray.